Tefillah l'Moshe ish Elohim Adonai Mo'ana ta hayisa lanu v'dor v'dor. V'terem har miladu v'adcholo eretz v'tevel me'olam ad olam ad el. Tal shavena shadaka v'tam reshuva b'nei Adam. Zramtum sheni yuba boker kechatzi yahalof. Ki chalinu b'pecha u'v'chamascha nivhalnu. Ki chol yamenu panu b'evrasecha ki linu shenenu k'mohega. Mi yodea oz apecha u'chirasecha evrasecha. Shuva Adonai Masai b'hinachim ala v'decha. Samchenu kimos inisanu shnos re'enu yira'ah. V'hinu am Adonai Eloheinu aleinu masi edenu kadonai aleinu masi edenu kadonehu. Amar l'Adonai machsiyim tzudasi ilhai avtach bo. Be'evrasai yasech lach v'sachas kenapav techseh tzina v'secher amito. Midever ba'ofa yalech miketev yashud tzarayim. Rak beinecha tabit v'shilumas r'shaim tireh. Lo sunei lecha ra v'negel la yikra ba'alecha. Al kapayim v'suncha pendigof be'evan arglecha. Kivi chashak v'afateo asagveo ki yad hashmi. Orech amim asbiya v'arebi shuasi. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. L'hagid b'boger chasdecha v'menascha b'leilos. Ki simachtani Adonai b'falecha b'masei yadecha arnein. Ish bar lo yedach sil lo yavin asaz. Be'atamaram le'lam Adonai kinei avecha Adonai kinei avecha yavedu yispardu kol pa'al le'yavin. V'atabeit eini b'shurai b'kamer malay mereim tishmana aznai. Tzadik hatama yifrach erz b'avanon yizgeh. Odi nuvim b'seva d'shenim anonimi yu.
Typical base sometimes people think that you boiche only on somebody who's young, who's not expected. But lahoyle, someone, the time came, everybody expected it. You don't cry as much, but the image is not like this. Somebody who departed from us like a Mechoy Shalom. The B'chiyah is big, B'chiyah is great. A great loss happened here. And Odom HaSholem has left us. It's a big Aveda for the Olam HaTorah. It was a big lesson, a big melamed to everybody who came in contact with him. Yaakov Avinu, it says, "Vayishka b'mokem hahu shochav, but the Yudalit Shon, the 14 Yud v'Shem ve'eva loy shochav. The more you suppose that the kashe Why the Torah only says this beremes, and only Rashi brings down a Chazal? Such a tremendous great thing. Yaakov Avinu did 14 years, he sat and learned Yom V'Layla, and he didn't sleep at all, he didn't lay down on a bed. Why doesn't the Torah elaborate on it and explain it in length? It's a tremendous limud. So Moshe says, Yaakov Avinu felt that a Yid of Yagusha Yom V'Layla, a Yid who has to some Leilas Kayomim for Torah, is nothing out of the ordinary. That's the chiyuv, that's the obligation of each and every Yid. Any free time he has, if he's able to thumb same as Leilos Kayomim, he's obligated to do that. How many people think such a thing? How many people have such a hashkafa? We have here a nifter who mamash some Leilos Kayomim. His Aves HaTorah was unbelievable. His Limud HaTorah, his Asmode BaTorah. He used to be up nights. After he was involved in verschiedene Sachen, he was up at night to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, sitting and learning, figuring out, big me'ayin, in a schwere Sugya in Shas. This was his nifter was. By him it was normal, it was automatic, that he has to spend every free time that he has for Torah. He had a chavrus, he went out to yeshiva every day for 13 years. The yoim beyoimoy. His Aves HaTorah was unbelievable. He started late, but he reached a tremendous, very high madrege in Libud, in Avonas HaTorah, in Dveikes BaTorah, in Avas Hashem, in Avon in Torah. It's a tremendous Aveda. His anhoge was a limud for each and every Yid. How to attach himself, how to be dovuk BaTorah and Elomim. This was his anhoge. Find people. There's a chiyuv of a person to grow himself, and there's a chiyuv l'rabbi the children. Sameach says, find, posuk in the Torah, vayet holoi. It said by Avraham Avinu, vayet holoi be'Yisrael. And it said by Yaakov Avinu, not to shomo holoi. He spread his tent. It said by Avraham, it said by Yaakov. But there's a difference. Foshim, Amedayik. By Avraham, it says a holoi with a hay. And by Yaakov Avinu, it says a holoi with a vav. A holoi with a hay is nekeva. A holoi with a vav is Zocho, is him. The Sameh Pshat is, Avraham Avinu's oil means the oil of his family, the oil of his wife, the oil of his child, of his children. That's what Avraham did. That's Avraham's oil. Yaakov Avinu holoi means his tent, his own tent. What is the difference? The Torah has, we have Yaakov Avinu, Mitos Shlema, but the Torah brings out that there's a little complaint against Yaakov Avinu. The Achronim say this. It's in Chazal. Avraham Avinu, first, he made sure that his family is in the right place. He cared first that his family is in the Derech HaYosher. He devoted all his koychos for his family. Yaakov Avinu, first, or he lacked a little bit of that. Or holoi, he devoted his koychos for his own, so he cared for his family, mitos shlema. Oh, but there was a little bit of tiny on that he didn't devote enough koychos for the family. And that's what happened in mice of Dinah after this. See, obligation of a person is a dual. It's a dual obligation. By Noach state, Toldoishe shel tzadikim masim toivim. Shule Kutne says, the toildo, the children of the tzadikim are their masim toivim. So Shule Kutne says, that's by Noach. Noach put all his koiches in his masim toivim, but he neglected his family. He neglected everybody else. He didn't care for others, children, for his family. By Avraham Avinu, it's not like that. Avraham Avinu, versteht sich, his massive more important. But at the same time, he cared for his family. We find people who put all the koiches in their aliyah, in their growth, in their Torah, in their Yiras Shamayim. But it affects the children. The children are not growing fully in the ruchnis, the derech, the way they're supposed to. Other people put tremendous koiches on the children. Some Sofer says, Amoleinu la abonim. They put tremendous koiches in the growth of the children. They should go by derech hayosho to instill in them Aves Torah, Yiras Shamayim, Aves Hashem, Digduk b'mitzvahs, Midas Toivos. And it's hard to be totally devoted in both areas. Extremely complicated. Here we have a nifter who had unbelievable, supernatural koiches. He put tremendous koiches that we mentioned before in his own aliyah, in his own growth. By him we can see he put tremendous koiches in his Torah, in his Yiras Shamayim, in his Kiyum b'mitzvahs. But at the same time, he devoted tremendous, outstanding koiches in the growth of his family, in his children, in each and every child, each one according to what they needed. He instilled in them Torah, Yiras Shamayim, Aves Hashem. That's what his goal in life. He should raise a beautiful Torah-dige family, children and grandchildren. And because he pushed those koiches, the Tziv says, Koive Hashem yachlifu koyach. Hanoisen layoev koyach. The Eibers, they give the person who is exhausted, he gives him koyach. What is the koyach? So the Tziv, koyach doesn't mean physical strength. Koyach means he gives him ruchnis di gatzloche. A person who puts a lot of koyches and he means l'shem shamayim. The Ribono Shel Olam helps him and supplies him with the tremendous koiches that it's almost impossible to assume how a person has so many koiches, say for his aliyah, for his tremendous aliyah, and to raise his children, to instill in his children, and to care for each and every problem of his children. This was the nifter who passed away. It's a tremendous, his anhoge, his life, was a tremendous limut for anybody who looks into his life. Try to emulate him, to follow him. And I'm sure his children are trying to follow him. By such a person who puts so much koiches in the children, even the person passes away, is chofshim min ha-mitzvahs. Person can't grow after his nifter. He already performed all the mitzvahs in this world. But if his children follow in his footsteps, if his children are doing according to what he instilled in them, so every mitzvah, every masim toivim, every Torah that his children learns, he gets additional, constant addition. That's why, bro kare de avur. Why is the child the leg of the father? A leg makes a person walk and advance. The children help his father advance even in such a doir, such a time when so many chasdei avoira needed, the Ribono Shel Olam took the roses, took one of the nicest that we possess, and took him away to be mispale for the doir, to be mispale for the mishpocha. Gedolim tzadikim b'misosom yosim b'chayeyim. We ask you to be mispale for your Choshev, Bnei Bayit, Choshev wife, Mrs. Rhodes, who devoted so much time and so much koiches for you. There was no day and no night how much koiches she put for you. I'm sure you'll be a Melis Yoshech. She should be gesund und stark in my Yomi Rishon. And also all your children, each one according to what they need. I'd like to take the opportunity that your brother, Stephen Rhodes, he was so devoted to you. You have to appreciate Makir Toiva. Sometimes was in the hospital for straight 36 hours. He deserves a tremendous appreciation for the devotion, for what he has done for his brothers, and also all the children, Uwe and other children who have done so much for their parents. To be a Melis Yoshech, the ganze Mishpoche, Bila Moves Lo Netzach, und Moch Hashem Elokim Dimam Yal Kol Pon.
Isi b'nei Aliyah v'hei muatzim, says the Gemara. B'nei Aliyah, true b'nei Aliyah, are a minority. And we all remember very clear how Rav Michael used to come out to Tzilat Yeshiva every day. He was running a business, making parnasa, but he came out every single day and he learned daf after daf, mesechta after mesechta. He went many years to the Shiri Baruch Chaim Taiva of Grunwald Shlita, and he was oila from day to day. I remember one of the Balabatim, who was also struggling to get a derech in learning, once told me, Rav Michael made it. He got a derech in learning, he can learn by himself, he can chazah by himself, he can mechadish himself. He made it. He's independent Torah learner himself. He also had tremendous kesha, which was Victor Miller Zechron Levracha. I remember he used to go many times to New York to be miyayitz with him, and he used to come back and tell us the divrei chachma and eitz that he had got from him. And Victor Miller was a power of beacon light and strength for him. Baruch Hashem, he was zech to a lot of nachas in the mishpacha. Bonim ne bonim, Talmud Chachamim, Oiskim Tzorchi Tzibur, Elach Yidden. And he also had the challenge of a special needs child, Isi, who tremendous koiches went in to make the maximum of his life, which will go via to Be'ez Hashem. In the last years, there was Yisurim, and kept him in the house, took away his ability to learn as good, but Yisurim and mark him, and now Nechama is, and Mishpachas Nechama is, that now he's part of these Yisurim. We're holding right now in the last 7 weeks of the year, and Chazal gave a special name to this Tkufa, and they called it Shiva de Nechemta, a 7-week period that ends off the year and starts of the new year of Nechama. After the 3 weeks of Tisha B'Av and Shlosh the Paranusa, comes 7 weeks of Nechama, of Chizuk, of getting up, going weiter with Chizuk and with Aliyah and with Emunah, with Nechama. So may the Neshama, may the whole Mishpacha have a Nechama, and in a way, seeing that the Yisurim are over, we are sure the Yisurim will mechaper and metire and memarik, and he'll go straight to his Menucha Nechayna al Kanfi Ashchina Be'ez Hashem. We also have to pay tribute, as mentioned before, to the tremendous Mesiras Nefesh of Mrs. Rhodes, especially in this last Kufa, and also the tremendous Mesiras Nefesh of Mr. Rhodes' brother, who was so careful. He put tefillin every day with him. He was a real, true brother. And the Eshes Chayil and the Och Nemon, the Och Korev, with tremendous help. And we ask Michal to be Meil Tziyoshi for them, and to all the children, grandchildren, and may we only go Misimcha L'Simcha, and be a Meil Tziyoshi for Klal Yisrael, that all the Tzara should finish and be gone, the Goel Tzerek should come B'Korev, U'Moach Hashem Al-Kim Dinu Yal Klopanim.
Not a Talmud Chacham like Rav Blum or Rav Hirschfeld. I spoke to Rav Hirschfeld so many times. But the emphasis, I forget the emphasis. If you want to understand my father, if you go back 1953 when he was born. So in that time in the world, in 1948 people went to Eretz Yisrael and they needed an air force. And how did they get such an air force? They got it because the pilots that were in the US Army who were Jewish couldn't get jobs in the United States. It says, Jews not welcome. Jews need not apply. 5 years after that, my father was born. After that, Zman. And he was born into an America that was a desert. And everyone knows that in order to build a frum family, in order to be, even before that, an Eved Hashem, you need to build Yesod, foundation. So my father and I were able to speak over these last 2 years, and we spoke on what was the reason. How did he become religious? How did he become frum? How did he become religious? And we were talking, and he told me that he saw Uncle Naftali many years ago walking to shul with a white yarmulke. And he told me, you would think that my father saw this, he had a spiritual feeling. No. People, they get spiritually inspired, they become frum. That wasn't the emotion that got my father to become frum. He told me that he had a kinna. And the Gemara, the Talmud says, kinna sofrim tarbo chachma. If you have kinna, you have jealousy for learning Torah, it brings you chachma. So my father became frum not because he was emotionally inspired, but because his neshama inherently had a kinna for seeing someone walking to shul on a Shabbos. Can you imagine that, having a kinna? And I don't know, when did Daddy become frum? 1967? What? 63? Oh, that's right, 1963 when I was born. A little after I was born. And that's what my father saw. And there's a picture of me on my father's bed. I'm chewing on newspaper. I was a little baby. And my father, if anyone could remember that long ago, the blue Aleph Beis book. My father was teaching himself Aleph Beis when I was born. So he went against, I think he went to Iowa State for a little bit, he came back, he realized this is not he had an inherent feeling inside his neshama that this is not what he was made for, and he became frum. To become frum in those days, it wasn't like we had Eish HaTorah, and we had all the siyur, all the help that nowadays helps people become frum and religious. He did it in a desert. And in order to be an Eved Hashem, and in order to create a family that will continue, he needed to build a foundation. Like it says in the Mesos Yesharim, that even Yesod HaChasidim, the Chasidim, still always have to fix their foundation. So my father had to build a foundation in a desert, build a house in a desert without any cement, without a spatula, without anyone telling him, without a Mesorah, without anyone telling him how to do it. My father had to do it with his bare hands. It's very easy. It's a lot easier if you're born from and everything's sent to you and given to you. Even when it's not easy. The truth is, even if everything's handed to you, to work on your yesod is a lifetime of work. But when you're not given that opportunity, and you're not given the kelim, the utensils, and you're not given the Mesorah, the tradition going back of how to raise a family, how to learn Torah, it's like an impossible feat. I certainly couldn't do it. Most people certainly couldn't do such a thing. By the time I went to Yeshivas Chavetz Chaim in Rochester, my father, even before I went, my father was getting up early in the morning. I'd wake up, I'd see him learning away. Learning, going through Gemara at the table. Can't remember, they didn't have Art Scroll. They had a Sansino in those days. Art Scroll makes it easy compared to that. Sansino, it's a dictionary. And it doesn't even tell you. You have to figure out Pshat. You have to figure out the understanding. You have to put the words together. So not only did he have to teach himself Hebrew, he had to teach himself Aramaic. He would get up early, he'd go to daven, he would go out to tells. He would come home, he'd work a couple hours, he'd work, and then he would go back to learn. So you think, it's Baltic, right? So a person becomes from, so what happens? He's knocked with Yisurim after Yisurim. There's Sar Gidobanim. A person becomes from, you think like, oh, Kadosh Baruch Hu must loves me. And he gets a son who's deaf and autistic. I remember my father banging pots to see if my brother could hear. Sister who had got, Baruch Hashem, she's gesund and she should be gesund to 120. She got diabetes, so like people would say, I put all this effort, and this is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this, Zu Torah v'Zu Schara, this is Torah and this is the reward. But he plowed through. He told me, in the name of my grandmother, his mother, Stama, she got this hashkafa from her parents, that Rhodes is never give up. So here he is, trying the best to build a family without a Mesorah, and he became close to Rabbi Spiro, and then Rav Blum's father, Ov Shalom, Zatzal, and Rav Blum himself. And he went out to Tels, he learned to Rav David Ozernozis, Zatzal. And I would go to Tels and I'd see him learn there. but it's an avoda kosha. It's a very hard work. It's a mountain to climb. It's not a simple mountain to climb. It's a very hard mountain to climb. So Kanzan Yisurim, during his life, the impact of disabled child is very, very hard on a family. Baruch Hashem, we were close to Rav Gifter, and we had good Rabbanim in Cleveland. By the time we got older, they were able to, help my father and give him the Derech HaYosher, the straight path. And then at the end of his life, he had Yisurim. So, I saw in the Chavetz Chaim, Sefer Chavetz Chaim in the Shara Chizuk, that the David HaMelech, King David, asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, asked God, what's the fastest way to get into Olam Haba? What's the best way to get into Olam Haba, the next world? He said, if you want to get into Olam Haba, into the next world, the real world, this world's not real. It feels real. It's not. If you want, then you need Yisurim. If you want to get a wide road, direct, a wide road to get into Olam Haba, then you have to have Yisurim. So my father had Yisurim. But look at the Totzah of those Yisurim. Many times in the last 2 years I would speak to my father. And I tell him, like we say in Voltzion, Yamusha Torah Picha, Pizaracha, Pizarazaracha. Torah should never leave our family. From you, Abba, to me, my siblings, my children, my grandchildren. And I'll bring you a raya. I'll bring you a raya that it's true. My brother Zevi, when his son heard, my father's grandson, oh boy, when he heard that Zaidi was nifter, he said to my nephew David, he said, at least Dad, Zaidi got another Shabbos. Where does that come from? Where does that come from? It comes out like out of the Himmel. It's like no. Every Shabbos before we Kiddush, my father would say, why are we saying Kiddush? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God created the world in 6 days, and the seventh day he rested, and he created the world, Yesh Mayin, from nothing into something. And he embedded in us these hashkafos, and he created a Masorah, and he implanted the Masorah into our hearts to the best of his ability with much sar. And in truth, all his grandchildren from as Hashem continue, and so too his great-grandchildren. And there's nothing greater in the world, and you can't leave any legacy greater than a family that clings to the creator of the universe, who created the world out of nothing, and he put us in this world for one purpose, and the purpose is to be davek, to cling to Hashem by doing mitzvos, and in order to, and by doing that, and working on midos, obviously, more importantly, working on midos to the best of your ability, best of his ability. And by doing that, he built a bias of Torah that should be Kayam Lad until the time of Mashiach. B'mher v'imenu amen.
The Talmud teaches us that in a place where b'makom shebalei tshuva omdim, ein tzadikim gemurim omdim, in a place where somebody who did not have an upbringing and a Torah education as a child and learns Torah and becomes observant, even the greatest tzaddikim, even the most righteous people cannot stand. We live in a generation where it's somewhat familiar to us that people become observant. And maybe we take that a little bit for granted. But there are three things, and Reuven spoke about some of that, three things very unique about my father-in-law in that area. Number one is he did it as a newlywed. That is extremely uncommon. Usually it's college, high school, older age, but as a newlywed, as he was setting out and starting his family, that's when he became observant. That's when he started learning Torah. And as Reuven said, there was no support system. There was no network. This was in the movement that began after 1967, after the Six-Day War. Till then, there was a little trickle. There was a little bit that was happening. But for the most part, it was a post-Holocaust era. And there were many, many questions, and it was not the greatest time for the Jewish people, and it wasn't a time for people to come back. But he came back in that time. And he laid the path. He was a trailblazer. He didn't have the support system. He didn't have the library of books. He didn't have all the speakers and all the institutions. But he was the trailblazer who laid the path for everybody else to catch up when the movement began in earnest. It was he and a couple of his friends and a couple of people. It was a very small group of people that laid that path. He was one of the people who laid that path for the rest of generations. And the other thing, very, very unique about him, is also mentioned, was he didn't just become familiar. He didn't just learn. He became a scholar. He became a scholar, a tremendous, tremendous scholar. The last 10 years have been years of tremendous, that's when the illness began 10 years ago. There were tremendous miracles. We saw the chesed Hashem. We saw the kindness of God. But it was also very, very, very hard years. Very hard years. Particularly the last 2 years. And I remember 2 years ago, the doctor said days and not weeks. And we had many, many moments like that. And throughout it all, my mother-in-law, so gesund sein, was the rock of our family. Was the rock of our family. She was a source of strength and inspiration. She's a model of a devoted wife, an incredibly devoted wife, a model of a mother, of a grandmother, of a great-grandmother. She's a model of tremendous, just an awesome, awesome person. And she would be shocked. She's tremendous humility. She would be shocked to hear how her children and her grandchildren speak, not with respect, not just with respect, not just with love, but with awe for her. And it was just amazing inspiration to see that. But when we stand in awe here today, we don't want to stand in awe of the person of the last 10 years. When I joined the family a little over 30 years ago in 1987, my father-in-law was a 44-year-old man. He was a young man, responsible for a family, a large family, had a business, had big responsibilities. I'm convinced he spent more time in the Beis Medrash than he spent in his office. He had a tremendous drive and a tremendous love of Torah. And he mastered, as Reuven said, he mastered Hebrew and he mastered the language of the Talmud. He mastered Aramaic. He mastered the Torah. He mastered Jewish law, Jewish philosophy, Jewish ethics. And he mastered, I believe, I would imagine, 20 volumes of the Talmud. A tremendous, tremendous. He didn't just catch up. He didn't just become knowledgeable. He literally became a scholar. And that is quite remarkable. That is the amazing, amazing person that he was. And I want to, in closing, just express a personal debt of Akaras Hatov, not simply for the things that he did for me and the things that he did for my family, but for literally shaping my family. I owe him a debt. My children and my grandchildren are who they are because of him. Because my wife went to the best schools. She went to Hebrew Academy, and she went to Yavna Seminary, and she went to Eretz Yisrael, and she had the best educators in the world, including our Mechutin, Rav Greenwald, and many others. Great educators. But her greatest educator, by far, was her father. Not only by his example, but also, as Ruvain alluded to, by the deep, deep conversations that took place at the Shabbos table. He made her who she is, and she made our children and our grandchildren who they are. So I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to my father-in-law for shaping my children, my family. And I also have to express tremendous, tremendous gratitude. Cleveland is remarkable, and Cleveland is unusual. It is an Ir Shel Chesed. It is a community that has tremendous, tremendous amount of chesed. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law came into this community as outsiders, and the community embraced them and held on to them and gave them a tremendous amount of love. We have many, many adopted uncles and aunts. The Tells are Rosh Yeshivas, all the Rabbanim, Rav Grumer, Rav Einstadter, Rav Hirschfeld, Rav Blum. And the Kahal Yereim community was like family to our family. Over more than 50 years, the bonds with, and I shouldn't mention the names because I didn't have a chance to review them. I'm sure I'll omit, but I have to mention them because they're literally uncles and aunts. They're special brothers and sisters to my in-laws, the Nissenbaums, the Cohns, the Klatskos, the Kleins, the Coptons, the Grosses, the Rennerts, the Barkins, the Mormons, the Landows, and an incredible Hakaras Hatov to Rebbetzin Shapiro and Bikur Cholim. Really, really, words. We don't have words for any of them. And for many, many years, the siblings, we don't live so close. And Zevi and Malki did all the heavy lifting for years and years. They did the heavy lifting with wisdom, with heart, and with maturity, and with selflessness. And they carried the ball for many, many years. And a year ago, they left, and they had to move to Florida. And we didn't know what was going to be, and it was the most difficult time imaginable. And God sent an angel, literally sent an angel. And my father-in-law, Rav Michal Shalom ben Gedalia David's brother, Uncle Stephan and Aunt Eileen. Uncle Stephan was literally there, with few exceptions, there every day, taking care of his physical needs, his medical needs, his organizational, his financial needs, his eating, his nutrition, his comfort in every area. He was literally every day, including putting on his tefillin every single day. It was really, really, we don't have the words to express on behalf of the family for all the chesed of this entire community. Tehei nafsho tzror b'tzor ha'chaim, v'mach Hashem dimma me'al kol panim.
I just want to speak for a few minutes. Many of the things that everyone's been saying, I could be made. That is so. Some things I didn't see, but I know they're so also. When I don't even know if we were engaged yet, but I remember. I remember Bowie telling me when Abba's Shas came in the UPS, post office, however you mailed things in those days. It's far more easy to come by. And he got his Shas. And she remembers him taking out each volume. And just loving it, and kissing it, and putting it on the shelf. And it was such an exciting thing for him. I wasn't there, but I know from knowing him all the years, it definitely happened. Through all his sorrows, all different kinds of sorrows, it was always the right time to learn for him. And it's like, no, it's not. I don't know. For me, it was, you need to be Masuder when you. There was never a problem. It's time to learn. It's always time to learn, and there was such an Avas HaTorah, and there was such a drive to learn Torah, and to keep mitzvahs, and any issues and halachas that came up, he loved talking about them and sorting through them, and I know even now. If I work a particularly hard day and I come home exhausted from work, my kids can I'm sure they can say the same thing. Poe is saying, "No, it's time to learn," and it didn't feel like time to learn then. But I know this was something. It's just part of. It's the way he raised his kids. It's the way they see the world. And it's something that's just became part of the family. It's always the right time to learn, and even if it doesn't feel like it. And I remember when I was newer into the family, I would say over the Dvar Torah, and he would be so excited about it, and he would say, "Oh, you're so amazing. How did you figure that out? How do we able to learn up that shtickle Torah? It was such a difficult shtickle Torah." And I know that as much as he would build me up and make me feel so good about myself, but I know your example of how a person learns Torah, how much effort they put into it, and how they put aside everything, and that's just all they do. Though he said the kids would be screaming in their high chair, he didn't notice it. He's learning. It's something I will always strive to live up to that, and I hope one day I'll be able to get to that position.
There are times that a person thinks he might be getting a headache, and he lets everyone know he thinks he might be getting a headache. He feels a headache coming, he steps up the alert. And then when the headache comes, everyone's on high alert. Zaidi, Abba, you were so sick for so long, and you never, ever heard you complain. Ever. And I didn't see it on your face, your unbelievable smile was always from ear to ear. Just shrunk a little because you physically couldn't spread it any wider. Your emunah and betachon was beyond imaginable. Who could go through so much pain and just sit there and smile I literally never heard him complain. The Emunah and B'tachon and him feeling that the Tsar and the Tsaris, the plague, one after the other, that he was the only way someone could pull through and not break down and stay strong like he did and continue to smile is the epitome of Emunah and B'tachon that very few can exemplify. Your covet Torah was beyond imaginable. I remember when we got married in Surrey, everybody in Cleveland was a tzaddik and everybody was his Rebbe. I grew up thinking Moshe Feinstein was a tzaddik and there were tzaddikim. Everybody that he spoke about was a tzaddik, and he held that they were all his Rebbeim. And what's so amazing about that is, like Ruvain said, his kinah seifrim was tremendous. He was such a competitor in a good way when it came to Torah. Yet he was so quick that's very rare. He was so quick to give cover to others and to make the other person the tzaddik, the other person's the Rebbe. His avodas Hashem, his chibas ha-mitzvahs was ridiculous. Before every, like Ruvain also spoke, before every Kiddush, I think it was Ruvain, before every Kiddush on Shabbos, and then when it came to Pesach Starim, he reenacted the Yitzias Mitzrayim. I'm telling you, by the time he was done, I really physically felt like we left Mitzrayim. His love for his family was insane, unbelievable. It was an emotional roller coaster. Every time we went for Yom Tif, the goodbyes would kill you. It'd start in the house, the hugs and the talks and the walks. They'd come out to the driveway, down the steps. They'd be in the car, and then out of the car, and then through the window. Then he would literally almost walk you to the highway. And it was really hard. It was gut-wrenching. He couldn't see you go. He couldn't see the family go. He couldn't see the kids go. He loved every one of us so tremendously. It was beyond, you can't describe it. It was like, I almost thought twice before I went because I couldn't deal with the goodbyes. Very, very hard, for real. The boys, every one of them, my daughters, my sons, he remembers, he took every one of them, the younger ones, so seriously. He took them so seriously while he was so busy with serious things. He also, every one of them, remembers every one of their lines that he loved, that he appreciated, and he remembered them through. A few months ago, he would still accurately, verbatim, repeat every line that he remembered that each kid said, where he said it, or where she said it, and how she said it. Yeah, you have to mean so much to a person for them to, through all the Gehennim that he went through, and to hold it so dear. You're Zadie, Abba, you're a man. Few could even close to relate to your level. And I want to ask Mechila for my immediate family, for every one of us that didn't properly give the respect of a man of your stature. And I beg of you to be a Melech Yosef for Bobby, the Tzadekis, for Uncle Stefan and his wife, for the whole family, all the children, the grandchildren, the unbelievable community, everybody that was always there for them and for us. And please be a tremendous Melech Yosef for every single one of us. And help ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring the Gula Shlema B'Heirim Yameinu. Amen.
Please rise. El Molei Rachamim shoychein bameroim ametzei menuchon choyno ahale kanefei ashechino b'ma'alois kedoshim utaharim kizoyar horoki amazirim es nishmas Reb Michal Shalom ben Gedalia David shalach lo ilamoy ba'avur shebnei mishpachtoy v'chol hakol hakodesh hazeh maskirim es nishmosoy began Eden tehei menuchasoy Lochein balo rachamim Yastireyu b'seisei kenafov liyoilamim V'yitzror b'yitzror achayim es nishmosoi Adonai hu nachalosoi V'yonuach b'shalom ha-mishkavoi v'noimar amen. The minyanim will be in the house of the Rhodes. Shachas will be 7:30 in the morning, and Mincha Mari will be 8:05. The Kvura is in Mount Aleph. I have to make the